it's unfair to cut the whack nowadays. Like, guys, have a 127 or something, and then I'm gonna be proud of you guys. It was definitely not a community, so I felt pretty much alone by myself back then. But yeah,
All right. Hey, so it's pronounced whack?
yeah, it's pronounced whack.
Oh, I always thought it was walk. That's interesting.
No, yeah, I know. Like, it's like people don't want to say whack because whack is like something bad or something.
Yeah, it kind of means something like lame or not cool in English. Anyway,
Yeah.
whack. Thank you for joining me on this surprise episode of Speed Trap. For anybody who doesn't know, I think probably most of my listeners will know, but Whack was a longtime world record holder in Link to the Past. He broke a pretty long standing record on Twin Galaxy back in the day. Your record time was from 2009. And a few days ago, as I'm recording this, a few days ago, I watched that world record on stream and sort of like talked about it, pointed out some things that I was noticing or whatever. But it was a really cool piece of history, and it's really cool to have Whack on the podcast with me here. How's it going, man?
Doing great. It's a Saturday, and I'm just doing my things today. But yeah, you sent it to me on Discord, and I decided I would watch the VOD afterwards. And it's funny because I think it was the first time I watched the whole thing back since I did the my speedrun. Because
Wow, yeah.
yes, most of the time I would just watch like some places, some parts of the run I did, but like I think it was the first time I watched the whole thing back from the beginning, like with all the boring parts at the top of it. Yeah, it was a blast. It's kind of interesting to see like my own the own path, the own playthrough that I did compared to the today's standard, compared to today's path and everything. The strategies they've changed so much. So yeah, it's almost two different games nowadays, honestly.
Yeah, we've had, another 15 years to sort of study the game and come up with better ideas and understand things better. But
Yeah.
how did you get interested in speedrunning or specifically speedrunning Link to the Past in the first place? Because this was a long time before speedrunning was like sort of cool the way it's like, maybe still pretty nerdy, but kind of cool these days.
Yeah, I kind of stopped when it started getting like popular. It's
Really?
I did everything the wrong way. I speedran from 2004 to 2012, and like in 2012, I think Justin.tv got
Oh
out, and
yeah.
like people started speedrunning on that, and then Justin.tv got Twitch.tv and everything. So like, I really stopped when it became like mainstream popular, when it was easy for speedrunners to play in front of people. But yeah, back then I think like yeah, it was 2004. And I just learned about the Speed Demo Archive at this point, and it was a really nice website. And there was Radix who was updating new speedruns one at a time. He was these updates were like from any game you would like. There was one wall, and it was like such a small community of speedrunners back then, and I wanted to be on that wall at some point one
Mm.
day. I was like, looks so nice to speedrun and have a world record and have it like just on the front page of the Speed Demo Archive. That was my goal back then when I was like I don't know 24. I was 14 years old, so
Wow.
no, was I? Okay, I was okay, I'm 37. I was born in 987.
You were
So
16, 17.
yeah, 16, 17. So never mind about the 14. So yeah, so that was my goal. And then I was wondering like what game could I speedrun? And I really, really liked A Link to the Past back then. And it was like, something I would like to speedrun, and something that was like, popular enough for me to tackle the challenge, because there are so many games that have absolutely no community, like so some random Japanese game, Tasanuki, Usama 2, and you're like, you're the only speedrunner
Right.
to run this game, so I didn't want to do that kind of thing. Back then, it was TSA. I don't know how you guys pronounce it. This guy's name, Mike Desani or something.
Oh
You know
yeah,
what
I
I'm
don't know.
talking about.
I know him by TSA. Yeah.
Yeah, TSA. All right. So his time, the first time that I watched was a 151 by him.
Hmm.
It was in 3 parts on Speed Demo Archive. And the funny part is that I watched these back in like I don't know when, and I already knew he was cheating
Oh, that's so funny.
because yeah, because when you beat Aghanim for the first time, you end up on the top of the pyramid tower, right?
Hmm.
So and then you go down the pyramid. But the thing is, when you beat Aghanim and then get to the top of the tower and you have this wall of text, you are at one specific place on the tower. However, if you save and quit and return to the top of the tower, you're not going to be at the same place.
That's
You're going
interesting.
to
I
be
didn't know
like,
that.
yeah, you're going to be like at a different place on the tower. And I saw that because back then TSA was arguing that his recording was not long enough, so he had to like
Hmm.
cut the thing with his VHS and send the like separated VHS, claiming it was in one setting, which like so I spotted like right there because he it was in 3 segments. Well,
Hmm.
it was in 3 separated videos back then, and his first video was all the way from Aghanim to the top of the tower. He would see the wall of text, and then bam, the end of the first video is there. You have it, so you start the second video, and then he's where you would
Right.
go if you saved and quit and went back to the top of the tower. And I was like, what the hell, what is going on there? And I told Radix about that back then, and he of course he protected TSA, and he was like, he apparently he talked to him saying like, well, what's going on with this? And like, TSA just said the same old thing. Anyway, that was just a parenthesis I wanted to to spot,
That's
like,
so funny. Because
yeah,
like
it's
we
kind
we
of
know
funny.
that he's a rampant cheater and he cheated in Ocarina of Time as well. And like I didn't even know that there was an older 151, but we have two very old records by him that are both quite clearly spliced. It's very easy to tell nowadays.
Yeah, there's that, but yeah, it was really really old. But I forgot like what was the timestamp, like what was the subsequent world records. But I recall it was like all from him, but except for one was like 141,
Yeah,
and
there's a
then
141
TSA.
by Mad Zombie, which is, as far as we
Yeah,
know, the oldest legitimate world record that wasn't cheated.
yeah. I do remember about Mad Zombie's record, which was immediately took taken by TSA's
Yeah,
139 back then.
yeah,
And then like but all this time I was on the back in the shadow, like grinding this game over and over again, like trying to. It was like kind of hard for me because the goal post kept going
right.
further than what I could like improve, and I was facing cheaters back then, so
Yeah,
so yeah, there's that. But yeah, that was my that's how it all started. It all started with just me loving Speed Demo Archive's website, and just wanting to do something to prove something, that I could get that world record off of A Link to the Past. It was I was not entirely in the shadows for all this time because I didn't invent, but I was playing on different categories back then.
oh,
I tried a segmented run, which doesn't exist anymore nowadays for reasons, obviously. You try to you you make people aware that you're everything you do is spliced, you know, so you save and
Right.
quick and you get back another day and it's totally it's within the rules. So you know, I did that 129 back then with a
Wow.
segmented run. So that's how I could that's how fast I could go back then, but you know, without without strategies, without you know anyway. So without practicing much, every room back and back like we can do today, it was
Yeah.
hard for me. So yeah, and I did the 100% speed run. The top of it, I did the 2 hours. I did all the routing for the 100%. So that was fun and everything. But all these things were just for me to like you know keep grinding on
Right.
something and like have my name somewhere on the website anyway, even though I didn't have yet the world record on the 90%. At least I had it on the segmented run and the 100% run. So
Yeah, the any percent world record was a big problem because, again, you were competing against cheaters who could sort of improve their time by cheating, which you were not cheating, which makes that a much more challenging proposition for you. The history that I have, we have the TSA, well, we have the Mad Zombie world record that's valid, that's a 141, and then there's a 140 by TSA. And then shortly after the 140 by TSA, we have a history, or we have a record of this guy, Rodrigo Lopez, submitting a 136.
recall.
That must have been a pretty shocking experience for you to see like a 3 or 4 minute improvement in the world record. It turns out that I don't even think it's fair to say that the Rodrigo Lopez record is cheated. As far as I can tell, it was just completely made up. Like he just said the number. Maybe there was more evidence back in the day and none of it survives, but there's no evidence of him actually having done anything. The only thing I could find is like a clip of him killing Ganon with a timer running. But like that doesn't mean anything. Like that's only proof that he did one room. So I don't know if he cheated this or if he just said that he did it with no evidence. Like, do you have any memory of what was going on with that one?
Yeah, it was the time on Twin Galaxies.
Yeah.
That's that, right? Correct?
Yeah.
So from Twin Galaxy, yeah. So I do remember I did mention Rodrigo Lopez because you could add a description of your run
Mm.
on Speed Dem Archive, and my description included Rodrigo Lopez, and I just said like you know there's no way this guy could just like split a 3 minutes run like without you know just like that, just so I was just like yeah, it's totally, but the thing is what I recall about that is that Rodrigo Lopez said he had a 136 before even Mad Zombie had a 141.
Oh, really?
That's how I remember it.
Huh.
Yeah, it was much before Mad Zombie. So that's how I remember it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe my you know maybe I remember I don't recall correctly, but that's how I remember it.
I don't have
I
the greatest
it,
sources for this stuff, right? Like I can find a few posts on old forums, but it's possible that there's older stuff I missed or whatever.
yeah. So it was so early. It wasn't such an early 136. You know, I think I grinded for years before I got from 141 to 136. And this guy Rodrigo said he had a 136 like you know years before, and I was just like I just posted that like there's no way somebody had a 136 before, especially since like I said to you on Discord in DMs that I was all alone back then doing strats and everything, which cannot be entirely true because the bomb skip in Ice Palace was not my idea, but my run was the first run who did it,
Right.
you know? So necessarily some other people were trying to find things, strategies, trying to find you know, places you can save time. So I was not alone, but I don't recall being like in a community full of people like you know this kind of healthy community that you can have today. It was definitely not that. Maybe there was like some you know some people trying stuff here and there, but it was definitely not a community. So I felt pretty much alone by myself back then, but yeah.
Yeah, so I guess you were mostly going off of you had a couple of record runs that you could watch, and then I guess after that it was like mostly whatever you could come up with, and maybe here and there someone would chip in with something.
Yeah, so as you pointed out in the VOD, watching my run, most of the Dark World was like, there was no strategy. I was just like, breezing through the game, trying not to get hit. Like, the idea behind like the main strategy was to get hit the least
Yeah.
in order to get to the boss with as much hearts as possible, so I could like, go through.
Right.
Whenever I was not full hearts, I was starting to be like, not confident about my style and everything. So yeah, there's that. There was just, well, I mean, it's not true that I had no way of practicing room, but I remember I had the option to play on an emulator on my screen, and I do recall I tried that, and I recall that I hated it, like,
Yeah.
because I was playing on a CRT, like such a small CRT back then. I was not seeing the pixel. I was just not seeing them. Like you could tell me, yeah, when you want to do the bomb jump on Ice Palace, you get this pixel and this pixel, dude. Like if I had this CRT that I was playing on 20 years ago, like you don't see these
Yeah,
pixels.
yeah.
It's not like today. So I was getting on my emulator instead, and all the pixels are super perfect, so crisp and everything. It just threw me off. Like,
Very different.
funnily enough, seeing all the pixels was throwing me off. So I was good on my CRT back then, but today, like the more pixels I have, the better I feel.
Yeah, that's interesting. So there's a funny moment in your record where you're going to the blind fight and you're at full hearts, and you just, I guess by memory you go and pick up the heart right before blind. Um,
Yeah, exactly. It's just funny.
yeah. Nowadays we have like very sort of stable strategies for all the bosses, so it's not that scary to walk into them. But you had the first three hits of the script, like the first phase of the blind script. But you didn't. You
Yeah.
were just winging it for the rest of the fight, which is quite scary. Did you come up with the blind script, by the way, or was that known before you?
Uh, I don't recall if you mean the first part?
Yeah.
I don't recall if I'm the first one who had this part. I think the first part just writes itself. I feel like, you're
Yeah.
just there, and so I don't recall if I made that path, or I created strategy. So I just feel like it just writes itself. It's so easy, But then afterwards, if you have an emulator, you can practice and be at some specific place, and have one strategy, which people do nowadays. But back then
Yeah.
I was just going YOLO, man.
Did you ever were you aware of like the game saver? Because like a game saver could have really helped you practice stuff if you use that.
Huh? What do you mean game saver?
Oh, it's a product for the Super Nintendo that sort of lets you do save states. It's just like a little thing. You plug it into your SNES, and then you put your cart into the game saver, and then you can like basically do save states on your Super Nintendo.
The only thing I heard of back then was Game Shark, but I
Mm.
was never made aware that there was a game saver back then.
Oh, that's too bad. Yeah, that could have made your life a lot easier.
But the thing that you mentioned, though, which is what made me feel really idiot, is that I could have one file right before the Ice Palace, because the Ice Palace was it was a run killer back
Yeah.
then. So because of the bomb jump, so I could have made one file just before the Ice Palace, which I never thought back then. So I could have practiced at least this part, so it's not as much of a run killer as it had been for me back then.
Yeah.
But yeah, never heard of that. But is it good? Like, is it still on the market nowadays?
You can find them on eBay. I bought one a couple years ago. Yeah, it's really interesting watching your run because your light world is like pretty good. Obviously, it's not like today's very high level standards just because we know so much more, but there's some things that you're very good at. But then over the course of the run, just because if you're practicing by just doing whole runs, obviously the end game is going to be you're going to get less tries at it, and so you can clearly see your like comfort and your knowledge sort of drops off. Like in the light world, you have very deliberate paths through almost every room, and then later on in the game it's like you're kind of winging it, or like you're sort of maybe surprised where exactly an enemy is, and you have to kind of adapt and stuff. And it's just the access to like emulators or uh, the practice hack or Nakatech Game Saver, just anything like that that lets you really grind every screen specifically is such a game changer for us these days.
I wish, like, I actually downloaded the ROM hack and I started practicing some
Oh
rooms
yeah.
in the recent years, like during the pandemic. I think I started practicing and I started like writing down where my biggest weaknesses. Most of them were the bosses, and you pointed it out just so perfectly. Like all the bosses were basically no strategy, just going for whatever is gonna come to my face. But then I kind of like I don't have as much the motivation as I had
Yeah.
before to speedrun this game. So, but yeah, definitely like everything, all the tools that you guys have nowadays just makes it like completely unfair. Like it's unfair to cut the whack nowadays. Like guys, have a 127 or something, and then I'm gonna be proud of you guys. But 136 today is like, you know what, yeah, I can just like open up today, and by midnight I'm gonna have like a 133. So it's not fair. It's not fair to compare the 136 from 18 years ago to 136 today.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, obviously you were sort of miles ahead of everyone else. The only people who were close to you were just lying about what they had accomplished. So
It's funny because I beat TSA, which was a cheater, and then I got beaten by another cheater. So I'm just right between cheaters.
So
Uh,
the next records that we have on that I know about are by a Japanese runner named Ikaruga. Are you familiar with those runs?
I am not familiar with that's the thing. I kind of watched a bit of what happened afterwards in the Link to the Past community, but I kind of also just dropped from the community at
Yeah.
some point. When Crystal was there and made the community their community and stuff. So I completely got out of all what was going on with Link to the Past at that point. So I don't know about the Japanese community, what they did.
Yeah. I imagine you weren't I guess you said it yourself. You didn't really have a lot of people to talk to about this, but there was a guy named Ikaruga who's had a couple of records. According to the best records that I have, like there wasn't like a central speedrunning or Link to the Past community that spanned the globe, or anything like that. But the fastest times that I know about in order go from you to this guy Ikaruga in Japan about a year later. And I haven't watched his runs back closely yet, but I don't currently believe him to be a cheater. So I think that there might have been a legitimate cut between you and Crystal. But so you think that Crystal was a
It
cheater?
could
I
be
think
that.
that's pretty widely believed now. But do you want to say more about that, or like what made you think that?
Oh, for sure. Well, I knew from like the first runs that Crystal was uploading, and I was like, they were save files, like that they were files that you put on an emulator. They were not like anything but save files, a couple of kilobytes. There you go. Here's my run,
Oh,
and
like
I
emulator
was
movies. Yeah.
yeah. I don't know how you guys call them, but yeah, emulator movies. You grab the files, it's a couple of kilobytes, then you run it on your emulator, and here's Crystal's run. And I was just like, this is already a bad start if you want me to believe on your run, but let's watch it anyway. So I did watch, and the one I watched and gave me all the suspicions was their damageless run,
Mm.
where Crystal would do things that were so dangerous. Like they would do like things that were right by the edge. Like they wanted to taunt the viewer into like making them believe. And it was on Turtle Rock and stuff like that. It was like super deep into the run. I'm just gonna go by the edge and You know, when you kind of lose control of Link, because Link is like, just
Right.
sliding towards the hole. It was literally this, and like Crystal came back doing this over and over so deep into the run. I was like, this person is not it's not legitimate. Sorry, it's not legitimate. And I could see some other places where it was so weird. Sometimes they're like, you cross a door and then there's this transition of the camera like following, and then you have Link appear. But sometimes Link would appear down there and he would not move for a couple of frames. But I was like, who the hell plays A Link to the Past for a speedrun and not hold the up button when the camera is transitioning? What's going on there? Why is your character like not doing anything at this point? Like, what's going on?
That's
I was
actually
like, this
very
person,
common in rooms where people are going to dash.
really?
It's very common for people to not be holding the D-pad and just try to time the dash input. It's a bad habit.
Okay,
Lots of people
okay,
lose
okay.
time to it, but
Okay. What I forgot to mention is it's not for a dash. It's for walking up afterwards.
okay. Well, that's yeah,
So yeah,
that's pretty
there was a
uncommon.
dash going to the door, and then the transition, and then Link stands there, and then he starts moving back again. And I was just like, why are you standing there for a split second when you clearly could have just hold up for the whole time? So I was just like, this person is save stating, and his save states was not very good. He save states after Link appeared, and
Interesting.
there was this. Yeah, or he did not buffer his up while loading his save state. So for a split second, Link is just standing there. So I was just like, this is so like fishy. This is sus. Everything was sus to me regarding this. But people were praising Crystal back then, and nobody would nobody, everybody would invalidate me because Crystal was the new top runner and everything, and people were just saying, well, you're mad that you're not the best anymore.
So I think that a lot of people agree. I haven't watched this stuff closely. I want to eventually, but I haven't watched through this stuff closely. But I think it's pretty widely agreed that Crystal started cheating at some point, that not all of the world records are legitimate. And I think it's pretty common for people to not think that the damageless runs are legitimate. I don't think that that's like widely taken seriously in the current era. But do you think she was cheating just from day one, or do you think that she like started cheating at some point into the journey? I don't know if you were paying enough attention to say, but
Did you say you think she was cheating the damages run, or you don't think she was cheating the he
I
was
don't
when
I don't have an opinion on it personally, but I think that most people think that it was cheated.
Yeah, okay, so as I thought, like the damages run must have been cheated. But I don't know because I didn't follow the whole thing. Like at some point, I think from what I recall, because it's been so long, but from what I recall, I kind of came back to the community after like couple of months, or I don't know how long it's been, but Crystal was there and was doing good runs, and I already lost my my world record at that point, and I kind of came back, and I just I checked what Crystal was doing, and it was already super fishy. Like he already had done the damageless and the
Okay, yeah.
damageless run and everything, and so I just came back to be super mad. Actually super mad about like seeing what I was seeing, and I was like, isn't everybody like how is everybody so blind about that? Like, oh my god. But yeah, that's how I remember it. Like, I don't recall like the I was not there. I was not there when the beginning of Crystal happened. I was not there when Crystal beat my run. I was not there when Crystal strategized every room, which I that part I raise my hat regarding this, because I would not do that. I was more into like just doing runs and everything. So strategizing every room, solving the game. So I raise my hat regarding this, because it greatly like it the speedrun made a great leap forward, and improvements were made a lot at that point. But yeah, I was not there at pretty much any point in the Crystal era.
Yeah. Did you keep checking in after that? I don't know how interested or how engaged you've been with the game or with speedrunning in general
Uh,
since then.
well, speedrunning. Oh, I still love speedrunning.
Yeah,
The thing is, like, at some point in your life, you don't have as much time to invest into
sure.
games, and games that takes an hour and a half to complete. You're not gonna grind that. I don't have that time. I don't have that motivation anymore. But I am on speedrun.com. I did speedrun other things since
Cool.
then. All the things are on my Twitch page actually. Like all the things I've done in speedrunning are on my Twitch page, WAK WAK017. You can just see everything I've done. I've done a couple of things since then.
I just pulled up your SRC page. It looks like you've got runs in a few other games. Oh, you have a very recent run from Racoin. Is that you?
Holy shit. Bro, yeah, that's me.
You have
I
you
did
have gold
speedrun.
in some category in
Yeah,
Racoin. Nice.
yeah, Rackline, 1 minute speed run, which I
Yeah.
have like the world record, and I'm 10 seconds before this. So yeah, it's such a funny speed run to do. Otherwise, I played a lot of Mario Maker 2.
Oh yeah.
It was a blast. I There was these ninja speedruns in the Mario Maker 2 game, and I was hitting top top times. I would hit top 20, top 10 out of like several hundreds of thousands of people trying to run these ninja speedruns. So it's there. It's on my these are on my YouTube, WAK SSBM, like WAKSSBM, as also a melee player.
Do you still play Melee?
No, I hate the game now. I
Why?
I hate the game so much. Because I hate Fox McCloud. Just it's
Oh,
just and I hate this character for the longest time, and like the community are making such like they're making so. Do you know about the Super Smash Bros. Melee?
yeah. I'm an old school Melee player. I don't play anymore either though.
Oh, you're okay. Okay, so that's nice. So I'm not gonna say things that you don't understand, but yeah. The community works so hard for everyone to be able to play Fox at such a high level that like it's Fox is and your tag is Fox Fox Lives.
I
So
actually played
hopefully you're playing.
Falco in Melee.
You actually Fox League space from Algo. All right, sure. But yeah, I think like the box and all the tools to get better at melee. It's just nowadays you watch a top 8 and at least 5 of them are foxes, and you're just like, oh, this is degenerated melee at this point. So yeah, and you play there's also like I'm just old school. Okay, I'm just old school. I used to play on the golden era of video games where you had less tools to become good at your
Yeah.
game, and then that's when I would shine myself personally. But nowadays, all the tools to play melee, and I just get on sleepy, and the people are so like they're robots. They're not playing the game. They're playing like their exact thing, like robots. It's like it's clockwork robots just playing melee nowadays, and I'm just like, yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I'm not into that anymore.
You see a lot of people who get very fast and technical and really learn how to press the buttons, but who maybe don't really know what they're doing beyond that.
Yeah, they don't understand like the fundamentals of the game. They don't.
Yeah.
They just do, and like if you are in one situation more than once in the game, you see that they do exactly the same thing over and over. Like they don't have any like differences in their play style. They don't anyway. So yeah.
I'm making fun of them a little bit. I mean, they can beat me up because I'm slow and bad, but it is funny.
Yeah.
Back when I played more actively, I would sometimes run into one of those guys who's just like twice as fast as me, but so predictable that you can just sort of hit him.
There's also that, but it's been forever since that. But at some point, I was playing a Mark player, but I think it was really really long ago, not recently, really long ago. But the guy would beat my Falco, which was my main back then. But I have some good fundamentals in melee, and I would pop this guy with my Bowser. So what's going on there? Yeah, like you have Mart, I have Bowser. I'm not supposed to win, but like he would destroy my Falco, but
Right.
I could win with Bowser. So
He had a plan
some
against Falco,
people,
but he couldn't figure out what to do against Bowser, I guess.
yeah, exactly. He was like, oh, I can't chain grab you upwards. I don't know
Right.
what to do.
So what games are you playing now? I guess Racoin.
Oh, I honestly, I'm creating my own game.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a long project, honestly. So don't expect this by 2026, maybe 2027 if I'm like super into it by then. But yeah, it's a platforming game, 2D platformer, just like Mario Bros. But do you know about the game Speedrunners?
I've heard of it, but I've never played it or really know much about it.
It's the last thing I streamed on my Twitch. So if you wanna see what it is, it's a 2D platformer racing game,
Okay.
and it's about being faster than your opponent. But you guys are using like platforming characters. So like it hits all the perfect spots for me. Like it's perfect. It's the perfect game for me. So I'm making somewhat of a game off of this idea of a racing game platformer, 2D platformer.
That's cool. And when you say you're making, are you doing it solo, like all the programming, all the art, or whatever? Do you got people helping you? What's the story?
I'm doing everything by myself except that I bought all the assets, like the
Hmm.
graphical
Yeah.
things. I'm not gonna do that myself. It's gonna take so long, and
Yeah.
everything can be bought online. So that's what I did, and I'm not gonna do the music or the sound effects. So I'm gonna ask one of my friends to do that. But except for that, I'm gonna be a solo guy doing this.
That's very cool, man. Well, I hope that goes well. I'll be interested to see it whenever you get it finished.
Yeah, hopefully it's gonna get finished soon, and I'm gonna be able to like show to the world. Otherwise, I like so much Rocket League. Have you ever played Rocket League?
I never got into Rocket League. It sounds really cool, but it never just passed me by.
All right, so people might like face me on Rocket League.
Yeah. Are you
That,
good? Like, are you
that,
high ranked on Rocket League?
no, I'm super bad.
Nice.
Actually, I'm really, really bad. I went back to the game recently. Back then, I would hit champ 1, which is it's not good. It's not good. But nowadays, I got back to the game and I'm barely diamond, so I'm trash at the game. But I love the game so much. It's kind of chaotic, so I love it so much.
That's fun. Yeah, I've heard that it has like a really high skill ceiling to like be able to control the car and get the ball to go where you want. I mean, I guess that's what's going on. But I've heard that it's like really fun to like learn how to really control it correctly, which is sort of similar to something like Melee where just moving around in the game feels really good. It's really fun to just sort of be in there.
Yeah, exactly. And the one thing I like too is that there's no like my back air is better than yours,
Yeah.
or I picked Fox, you picked Jigglypuff, so I'm just gonna it's gonna be a 80-20 uh, matchup. So these kind of rock paper scissors games with extra steps, I'm kind of getting away from them.
Yeah,
So this is something that you don't have in Rocket League, so I like it so much.
that's cool. Sorry, one thing I wanted to ask about Link to the Past that I forgot about. One thing I noticed
Yeah,
in your
yeah.
run, and I pointed this out during the VOD review. Um, One thing we focus on a lot now is entering doors really clean on, like lining up correctly. Because if you're going into a left door, and you like miss the door by a little, your movement is gonna slow down every frame that you nudge into the door. And I noticed in your run that you're like very good at that. Like your door entries are super clean. Were you like aware of the mechanics there and like how much it slowed you down and stuff?
It's more about I had a feel of what would go faster because I played so much, so I would see that if I'm not going straight into the door, a clean door,
Yeah.
it's just slower. Like it's
Okay,
so
yeah.
obvious. It's plain obvious to me. It's plain obvious
It
that you're
is. Yeah, yeah,
slow.
yeah.
You frames, but yeah, you kept mentioning it, and I was like. It's like the core basic. Yeah, I guess you would call it like some I think the past fundamentals, just to
It's one of those things that today we have to like really beat it into new runners because it's like pretty hard to be that precise with your movement. And it's interesting because like your door entries are like very good. Like that's like 125 level runner stuff. And it's like very incongruous with like your overall time because of just like the knowledge issues and stuff that we've talked about. Um, but it's interesting to see you have this like very good control over the guy, and then not be able to like capitalize on it as much as you would. Like if you started the run today and you just had that level of facility with moving the character around, your time obviously would be quite a lot faster.
kind of like I kind of hoped for I feel like if I had the time and the motivation today, as I said earlier, I think a 127 would be like, within range quite easily, with some luck on my side. I don't think it would be that hard. I'm 100% sure that I could not get back the world record today. I saw the Xelna. I watched so much of Xelna.
Mm,
This guy's insane. His controls are insane. He has so much more knowledge at the top of it. Like some very very subtle things that when I told him I was interested in speedrunning back again, A Link to the Past during the pandemic. Was oh my god, I can help you out, and he would help me like with some rooms and tell me like I was losing frames in places I didn't even notice I was losing frames and everything. But yeah, I think my fundamentals are pretty good, and my insight of being fast is better than average. I think I'm good at spotting when I'm losing frames within a small time window. I think it's fairly easy for me to see how I'm losing frames and how I can improve on not losing them afterwards. So yeah, the door entries were so like that's the thing you do for the whole run. So if
yeah,
there's one strategy, one thing that I could practice for hours and hours and hours back then was certainly the door entry. So
that's true.
it's kind of normal that I have like very high skills in door entries. We're talking about that today. I'm just like this is silly, right? Because it's so plain obvious to me that you need to get into the door straight, but apparently it's not as obvious for other people.
It does not jump out to a lot of people because your movement speed only slows down from 1.5 pixels per frame to 1, right? Which is it's a big drop. It's a one third drop, but some people like just aren't looking closely enough to notice it, I guess.
Maybe they lose paying attention when getting to doors because they're like, oh, okay, all right, I have
Yeah,
I have this pause
I
where
get
I
to look
can
at
like
chat
stop.
or whatever. Yeah,
Yeah, I can stop paying attention. But back then I would because the runs were so long, and I had a life outside of speedrunning as well. When I started, I was at high school and everything. I would um I would start my runs really really late, and I would play during the night, like until 2 or 3 a.m. when I was a kid, when I was in high school. So I would get back to school, and I had like 3 to 4 hours of sleep, and just like go through school and then get back to my place, do stuff as a kid, and then when the evening came out, I would start playing A Link to the Past. I did that to not get bothered by, people calling me, people reaching
Right.
out to me. I was like, when's gonna be a good time is gonna be during the night. So I was doing all my runs at night back then.
That's funny. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I was just gonna say, you said this to me in DMs yesterday, but another thing I wanted to sort of get on the record in here is that by our timing, your run is a 136.15, but you guys were using a different timing back in the day. So your goal, which you achieved, was actually to break the 135 barrier, right?
Yeah, break the one. Yeah, have a 135 something something. We would start the runs when Link jumped out of bed.
Yeah.
So this is when the timer starts. But nowadays we count from the selection of the save file,
Yeah.
which to me makes a lot of sense. I prefer that. But back then I would go by Link jumping out of bed. But that yeah, and we talked about that also on DMs. There's so many 136 I did back then. Like I was chaining these 136, but I wanted that 135. But I would never submit before I had this 135. So there's we don't really know how all the from 139 to 136, like we know nobody knows really what was the actual world record because I could just submit once.
Right. Because you had to mail a physical VHS tape to a guy. I don't know where the
Yeah.
guy lives or whatever, but like that's a really annoying thing to have to do.
Yeah, Radix, he had this friend. Maybe I can reach out like today or something. I can reach out to Radix or maybe these people, trying to see if my physical copy of
Ooh.
this VHS still exists. I'm pretty sure it does. Probably this guy still has like a basement full of VHS of people sending him runs, because yeah, back then everybody has all the tools today. It's cheap and everything, but back then it was not cheap and it was not easy to record from VHS to the computer.
Yeah.
uh, but Radix had a friend who would do that. So for people like me, trying to speed run but not having all the tools to transfer from VHS to computer. Radix had a friend, and I could email, not email, sorry, I could send by mail to somewhere in the United States. I think it was Arizona.
Hmm.
Somebody, and he would pick my VHS and transfer it. So maybe my VHS still exists. It would be funny to get back to get this VHS back today.
That would be really cool. Yeah. I mean, that's a little piece of history. It's too bad because, like you said, there was this time by Rodrigo Lopez of a 136 whatever, and so you couldn't really submit a world record that was lower than that. So there's like no history of anything between a like TSA's cheated 140 and Rodrigo's cheated 136. So we have no idea of what times you were getting, or if anybody else was able to achieve like a 139 or whatever. So that's just like all totally lost to us. Like probably some practice run that you did was the best run ever done, but we just don't really have any way of knowing, which is a bummer. But what are you gonna
Yeah,
do?
there was no such thing as practice, right? It was the rest. Just run,
Well,
and no
yeah, yeah,
practice. But yeah, I did. I lowered my time step by steps. It was never big steps, but it was always lower. I was lowering it all the time. 139, 139.30, 138, 138 something, 137. And I was getting so many 136, and I remember MSN Messenger. Do you know that?
yeah,
You know MSN Messenger?
yeah.
I was texting Radix on MSN Messenger, and I was like, "Bro, I have this 36 and a couple of seconds," and he's like, "You can get that 135, do something." I was like, "Okay, sure, man. I'm gonna keep grinding till I get this 135," and so I did. But yeah, I lowered that time, but it's lost. Everything is lost from this this part of the past.
Yeah. That's funny that because back in the day, nowadays if you want to upload your run, you just upload your run. It just goes on SRC. There's no like we the
Yeah.
mods approve it for legitimacy. Like we skim it to make sure that you didn't cheat or whatever. But there's no like, oh, this run isn't good enough. Whereas back in the day on
Yeah.
SDA, you had to convince a guy. Like there was a guy who decided if he thought your run was cool enough to put on the website or not. Like you didn't have all that much control over that. If you gave him a 136 and he was like, I think you can do a 135, it just wouldn't go up.
Yeah, exactly. So, I got bullied by this fucking dude, man. But it was his website, so what can I do about that? But
Yeah.
I'm glad, speedrun.com came in afterwards, and I was really glad about this website as a whole. It was like, okay, yeah, that's the end of SDA. Thank God, man.
SDA is still kind of around, but yeah, it's not very popular anymore. Not a big deal.
It's funny how it's still around. It's fascinating to me, to say the least.
Yeah, it's somebody's passion project. I guess he'll stick with it.
I'm gonna reach out to him. I'm really gonna do that. See if he still knows his buddy.
That's interesting. I'm curious to find out about the end of that story. All right. Do you have anything else you want to talk about? I feel like I got to know a little bit more about you and your history. This is really interesting.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think I made a lot of parentheses on, like, the story of how I, like, what happened in my life at that point and everything. Did a lot of side stories and everything. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Hopefully, maybe one day I'm gonna have the motivation to beat my 136. I don't think it's gonna be that hard with the Japanese and
Yeah.
all the, running with the hammer, or the clipping with the hook shot and everything on the ground and going so fast. I don't think it's gonna be so hard for me to cut the whack. It was kind of something like when I heard that people were cutting the whack, I was like, I want to do that too now. It's like, it's so unfair. Like you're beating an old man within an era that, like, you had no idea how it was. I would go to school with 6 foot of snow every morning. I would go back. I'm just joking, but yeah, I wish I had the motivation to cut the whack myself. So it's harder for people to have this achievement.
Yeah, make it a little harder for the next generation to cut the whack.
Yeah, exactly. Beside that, you guys can always follow me on Twitch. I do speed runs once in a while. But what I know is that it's always high level gameplay, whatever the game is.
Cool. Yeah, I'll make sure to link your Twitch and anything else you want in the video description or whatever. But yeah, thanks so much for coming on. This was really fun, really interesting. Glad I got the chance to talk to you.
Thanks a lot for the podcast, and have a good one, Mister.
Thanks. You too. Take care.
Bye bye.
Speed trap.